Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, future Jiu-Jitsu world champion, Angel Ortega. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Obviously, we got BKFC 41 to go over, which was trending all weekend. UFC 288 Fight Week is this week. We also got one championship making their U.S. debut. Before we get into all of that, as always, you're brought to you by two fantastic sponsors of the show, Rogue Energy and ELYXR. Courtside Soundoff for both of those. RogueEnergy.com, they keep me fueled up. They keep me going throughout my day, and they keep you going with code Soundoff at checkout for 10% off. On the other end, ELYXR, they're going to get you really high. They got Delta 8, 9, and 10 products, as well as HHC. They got gels, joints, gummies. They got it all. You can get it for 10% off with code Soundoff. Fantastic sponsors. Both been with us for a while now. And, yeah, big fans. Angel, we're going to go ahead and skip the UFC to start it. I understand. That's a very controversial thing to do. It's very rare to go ahead and switch it up. But dude, let's be honest here. The real card of the weekend was BKFC 41 going down in Broomfield, Colorado. You know, going into this one, we knew it was BKFC's biggest card, and we later learned that, you know, David Feldman, he was out there, he was putting his own stuff on the line for this one. He put up two mortgages to make this card happen.
What a guy. First of all, that's commitment right there.
That is commitment, and I think it worked out because this card was everywhere this weekend. And in the main event, dude, Mike Platinum Perry defeating Luke Rockhold. I mean, first of all, as far as the fight itself, we'll talk about that in a second, but in terms of the event coming together, you mentioned what a guy. I mean, David Feldman putting up the mortgages. He's given his all, man, to try and make this into a legitimate promotion. What were your thoughts on the event on the whole, before we kind of break into the X's and the O's?
I mean, look, I can like full-heartedly admit this and confidently say it. I think no matter what, you're always going to get at least one or multiple bangers in a BKFC card. You might not know the fucking guy or gal, but you're going to get it.
That is factual, yeah.
I mean, it's just the nature of how the sport is, and how things can play out. Kind of to break into the card a little bit, Josh. I mean, starting at the top with the main event, right? Because, fuck, man. For one, I never thought that Luke would do this, but credit to him, he came over, he did it, and hey, man, he tried it. You know, didn't work out. You know, verbal ending, but, Mike Perry, man, he really is becoming, I mean, when it comes to just bare knuckle as a whole, he is the guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I believe he's actually technically a promotional free agent as of this moment. I believe that was his last fight with BKFC, but I think, yeah, he's the face of the promotion. He's coming back. There's no way that they'd let him go. He's the face of that company. He fits too well. And as far as Luke goes, I never a million years expected to see Luke Rockhold in the BKFC ring. But, you know, and that's kind of the weird part, too, is I actually really thought before he kind of, you know, before he kind of retired, you know, that's the official term. What is it? TKO retirement is what it's listed in the record books as. I thought before that he was actually looking pretty good. But, dude, have you seen the video of him on Monday after the fight and his entire mouth, his bottom lip, you can see where the teeth like split through his lip. Have you seen that clip?
Yes, I did. Well, it was the one where he talked right afterwards. I was like, yep, got that one off the bucket list. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. And the chipped tooth, man, which is, hey, man, that's a Ralph Lauren model right there for you guys if you didn't know.
He is a Ralph Lauren model, so, you know.
You know, Josh, I want to mention something that I said to you Sunday, because we actually ended up seeing each other before we did the pod, which doesn't happen very often. We try to avoid it. Not for any reason specifically, but sometimes, you know, make each podcast say it's...
Angel, I avoid talking to you at all times. I mean, the second those checks stop coming, I mean, the show's over.
Well, it's to make the best podcast possible. But what I was going to say is, or what I was going to mention to you again was, Josh, can you imagine if you went to a coma last year, just exactly in May, start of May, you wake up today, and I show you that picture of Conor McGregor across from Mike Perry with the BKFC belt. What the fuck do you think, dude?
Well, I don't even need to. You don't even need to go that far with it, dude. On fight night, I told you this. I fell asleep before the main event. I took too many of those Delta 8 gummies, and I woke up at like 3 a.m. with an ESPN notification of Conor McGregor facing off with Mike Perry in the ring, and I thought I took way too much.
You thought you were still going.
I was like, this is wait a minute, this is acid. This isn't Delta 8.
Just so you know, that video on ESPN has 1.5 million views now.
Dude, this is exactly it. On David Feldman, I don't agree with this point with him. He said he did the MMA Hour, and he said that Saturday Night showed that BKFC is the number 2 promotion in combat sports. Massive disagree there. However, I do think you can make a case. And I think you can make a case because they're starting to have these viral moments on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like, like we mentioned Bellator last week or the week before about how Patchy Mix got a huge knockout of Rufián Stotts and he was everywhere. Bellator has that happen relatively regularly. BKFC doesn't. They don't have that happen too often. But if they can keep moments like this happening, just big moments, it doesn't even have, like, for example, everybody involved with like the pretty much this entire card, okay? Mike Perry, Luke Rockhold, Eddie Alvarez, Chad Mendes. You can even throw Beck Rawlings, Ben Rothwell in there. All former UFC stars, all former UFC veterans, but they're all kind of past their prime. But they got that name value. And when you put that name value together, it entices people, and they can make more big moments like they did on Saturday. Then they can keep on, maybe they're not in that number 2 position right now, but they can get there. And dude, that scene of him and Conor facing off, oh my God, it was crazy. But yeah, man, I mean, Conor was there, and that shocked me to see Conor there. First, I thought that, they probably paid an appearance fee and all this. They said they didn't, David Feldman said they didn't and all that. You can believe that if you want. I don't know if I believe it, but yeah, Conor was there in appearance to see obviously the main event with Mike Perry picking up the win, but also to see 2 former opponents, Eddie Alvarez and Chad Mendes, putting on. I mean, dude,
it's up there. It's up there with Jason Knight and Artem Lobov for sure. Right?
I think it's in the top 5 greatest BKFC fights of all time. You can put him in just fights like top 10 ever. You know what I mean? In my opinion. That was chaos personified. You know what I mean?
4 knockdowns.
4. Just trading them back and forth and back and forth. And ultimately it ends up being Eddie who gets the win by split decision. Afterwards, Chad Mendes retires. What do you think about, Eddie getting the win? Ultimately, I don't feel like either one of these guys lost. I didn't really,
Right. It didn't feel like it. I was hoping for a draw, dude.
That's what I was hoping for, too.
I was hoping for my Bigfoot and Mark Hunt moment. Fucking raise both hands. Just like, yeah, dude, yes. It's so good. Fight they got me into MMA, I always gotta bring it up. But,
Real.
Yeah, man, it was cool. By the way, super cool to see them afterwards at the press conference together, side by side. Great sportsmanship out of those 2 guys, which obviously no fucking surprise. These guys have been around forever. And, like we said, man, Eddie Alvarez, Chad Mendes is the greatest fight that I never thought about, or one of the best matchups that I never thought about. And we got it. And that's so fucking cool. We got it because VKFC exists. I don't think we ever probably would have got an MMA, and I don't even know how I would have got an MMA. I don't even want to think about it, I don't even want to have that idea in my mind because I got this this outcome and I loved it. Chad retired. I'm curious to see if Eddie decides to continue. Maybe 1 more, 2 more. Who knows? I mean, there's guys in BKFC who found success who are around the same age as Eddie. I mean, Eddie's 39, going on 40 here soon, I believe. Dat Nguyen is 40 now, and he came to be a BKFC in his late 30s, and he found some success and is still doing pretty well. I think he won his last match, which was the card before. I could be wrong on that. Let me double check here. Actually, it was 2 cards ago, and yeah, he won that against Daniel Strauss. That's another guy who came from MMA and found some success in BKFC, or at least is trying to find success, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing with BKFC is I understand some people are like, you know, it's human cockfighting. It's terrible. It's too violent. This is that. It's like you don't have to watch it. And man, like even I am like sometimes some fights in BKFC, I'm like, that's a little bit much for even me. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Right.
some of the injuries in there, man, they're hard to watch, and some of the fights are hard to watch. But I'm down for any organization that wants to come out here and give the fighters a paycheck. I don't see the issue with more options. And that's why I always get irritated whenever people always try to, like, down promotions like Bellator and BKFC. I'm like, you guys don't realize, like, is it important for the UFC to be around? Like, yes, the UFC is the number one promotion, but, like, dude, if you get rid of these other promotions, you kind of start to have, like, a little bit of a dark age. You know what I mean? This happened whenever the UFC bought all the competitors previously with Pride and WEC and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we need them, you know? And plus that, Josh, one important thing. I'm always DTF, Josh. Down
to fight.
So, you know, they need to be around, you know? It's important. There can't be a monopoly, for one. You know, it's important for there not to be.
Right, yeah, of course.
Because then that's a whole other set of issues that we won't even get into.
Yeah.
But, it was nice to see them have their night. This was pay-per-view. I went to my local Buffalo Wild Wings and watched this. But I will say, Josh, I did think about reaching out to you and splitting it because it was like $50. It would have been $25 a piece, which compared to the fucking $89.99 that you pay for UFC nowadays, way better in comparison for the price.
Oh yeah, dude. If BKFC keeps their pay-per-views like $50, you know.
Well, they've had just regular like $10 subscription to watch any of their cards, right?
I know, yeah.
Or something
That's
like
always been the best deal in combat sports, in my opinion. Like, I remember I got it whenever it was like $3 monthly to watch all the BKFC fights and then their previous fights.
Did they grandfather people into like a cheaper deal or something like that?
I think so. I mean, BKFC, which by the way, you didn't mention this, they're going to have a TV deal soon. They're getting away from streaming, which I don't know how I feel about.
Well, I mean, I feel like if there's any way they could still integrate an app or something, I feel like that'd be awesome.
Yeah. But at the same time, you know,
there's still money in TV, man. Like, even though maybe we're not watching it.
I know. It sucks.
By the way,
I don't got TV, you know.
I
can't believe it.
$7.99 a month to get full access to special content and all the replays on BKFC events.
That's
not sponsored, but
not sponsored. We're not sponsored by them, but they did put on a great card, and yeah, man. I mean, and in terms of the actual BKFC 41 card itself, any closing thoughts? Any fights you want to go and talk about before we go and move on to UFC?
I mean, banger. I mean, there's a lot. There was that one punch knockout that I saw on Twitter who I can't even remember who it was. But go on Twitter and I'm sure you can find it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter. Actually, here, I just found the guy's name. Dylan Weinmiller. 7-second fight. Literally, yeah, threw a combination, missed a few punches, landed one on the chin, guy was out.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was a huge win there. 7 seconds, I believe, roughly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that's the thing you mentioned. You mentioned this earlier. There's always going to be some big BKFC knockouts. And that's because I mentioned this earlier. Like last week, I think, we talked about how like Bellator and PFL and like promotions just keep guys around as like cannon fodder. That's, BKFC does that a lot, you know. And I have some issues with their matchmaking, but, you know, I hope now that they're kind of becoming more solidified, they don't have to do that sort of thing.
Well, I don't know, Josh. I think our boy Felony Charles Bennett is taking a fight soon with them.
Felony Charles Bennett is going to be fighting for Game Bread. He's going to be fighting for Jorge's promotion in bare knuckle MMA.
Still not a good idea.
Yeah, he's lost. I don't even know how many fights
12.
in a row he's lost. Dude, I saw that they announced Crazy Horse's new fight, and the first thing I did was I immediately looked up like on Snapchat, and sure enough, I'm like, I bet Crazy Horse is hitting the gym right now. Just had a fight announced, and sure enough, it's him smoking a joint, just vibing in his car. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right, you know.
I fucking love Crazy
What
Horse.
a guy. But yeah, man, I think it's about time to move on to UFC Vegas because this card, bit of a low key one, and by a bit of a low key one, I mean.
It had its moments, though.
No. I enjoyed the card. I'm just saying I didn't see anybody really talking about it. But, dude, in the main event, if you had any questions on if Song Yadong was for real before this night, there's no questions now. Goes out there and knocks out Ricky Simone in round 5, I don't want to say a masterclass, but he looked damn good out there, man. What do you think about him picking up the win in the main event?
I mean, beautiful. This is what I wanted. I just didn't think it'd be this fucking good. For one, man, this kid has a very long career himself. 25 years old. I mean, he has the potential of a 10 or 12, 13, 14-year career. Still. It's crazy. I mean, he's going to fight for a championship multiple times throughout his career, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he doesn't capture it initially, he'll fight for it again, and I'm sure there'll be another time. Like, he's going to get multiple shots at this thing. If he doesn't get a hold of it and keep it. So, that's crazy to think, man, that he's only going to get better, and he has a great camp behind him, and that he's this successful and looks this good at this age. Yeah, big bounce back win. Like I told you that night, Josh, this only made it clear to me that Sean O'Malley would have fucked up Ricky Simone potentially.
Yeah, I saw Ricky calling for that fight for a while there, and it's probably a good thing it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, things work out in certain ways. But yeah, no, I'm happy. Potential future champ first male champ for China, potentially. Obviously not going to rule it out. But he still has a long road ahead of him in a 135 division that's full of dogs and full of people on the come up. So I honestly don't know who I want to see him against next, but I'm sure they'll set him up against someone really fun.
I agree. I don't know who he'll fight next. I mean, I saw him calling for Petr Yan. I don't think that fight's going to happen. I think Petr Yan, what is it, 3 losses in a row? What were you saying?
So that's a hard fight.
That is a hard fight. And he's also lost 3 in a row. And I just don't think it makes sense for either guy right now. I think Song Yadong's on the way up. I want to see him fight somebody else on the way up or, something along those lines. I'd be down for like a, Cheeto Vera rematch probably.
I don't know.
That makes sense.
I don't know. I feel like they want to give him a new face. They might even give him someone below, which is kind of like a little tragic,
But I think he'd be fine with that, though, because that's kind of what his whole thing is. He's always been very patient,
Yeah. I mean, look, if anything, don't be fucking surprised if he's fighting like Jonathan Martinez. Guy who just broke into the rankings recently. Who got a big win for Saeed. So, I mean, I think that's a potential one if he is going to fight down. Unless they fucking throw Umar at him, but I think they're probably going to set up Umar in a different direction. I don't know. Matchmaking. I mean, I feel like there's options, but there isn't options in a way, or at least options maybe I'm not necessarily a fan of because we know Merab's kind of off the table. Sean's waiting for his title shot. He fought Corey not that long ago. I mean, I'm really down for the Petr Yan fight. I just, like you said, you don't think it'll happen. I think it's a possibility. I don't know. We talked Sunday night about how Petr might fight or how you think a potential next matchup for Petr is a Dominic Cruz rather than a Song Yadong and Petr Yan potential matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's more just, I was just throwing that one out there whenever we were talking, but I think, just based off of UFC's matchmaking, could they go out there and just say, Petr Yan, fuck you? Like, just.
They could give Petr Umar, dude. I feel like that'd be crazy, too.
They could do some crazy thing, but I really don't. Like, Petr Yan's never pissed them off, I think, so I think they don't have a reason to do that. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I think they're probably, if anything, a Petr Yan versus Dom Cruz matchup makes sense right now because, they're both coming off of losses. Granted, Peter's coming off of 3 versus Dom's 1. But Dom still said, one last title run, and this is kind of, if he wins this one, title shot. And then, for Petr, you need a win, so might as well do it. But, yeah, I don't think, I'd like to see a Song Yadong fight Petr Yan. I just don't think it's going to happen soon.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, man, in terms of the card outside of the main event, we saw Kyle Barala picking up a second win submission win over Michel ELYXR. Not shocking at all there. What do you think about him picking up the win?
What I expected, man. I had him the whole way. There was no doubts in me going into the fight. I had him 100%. Thought submission was probably one of the better options. We've seen him, man. He's a complete fighter. He can do it on the feet. He can do it on the ground. So yeah, I'm just ready to see this kid kind of keep going, keep blowing up, and break into the rank pretty here soon. Because 185 needs contenders, man. And like I said, it doesn't take a lot for you at 185 right now to really get it going, man, and break in there because a lot of those faces have already had their chance at the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And also, I'm really curious what you think about the fact that during fight week, there was a guy that he was talking about, and he was talking a lot about Bo Nickel. And he was kind of saying, that's just hype. He's just this, he's just that. Do you think that Kyle Barral is potentially trying to angle for a future fight with Bo Nickel?
I mean, hey, man, I get it. He has eyes on him. He wants to shut down the hype train. He has a lot of experience in MMA himself. So, why wouldn't you want that matchup? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and for Bo, I mean, if he gets that, I mean, that's not a bad deal, man, especially a guy who's kind of built himself as a potential contender coming up here soon in the rankings. And, but, Bo has some business to take care of, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will. I mean, as far as the rest of the card goes, like I said, bit of a low-key card. Not a whole lot of people talking about this one, but there were some big wins. I mean, Rodolfo Vieira picking up a submission win. Fernando Padilla upsetting Julian Erosa. And then also, we got a quick shout out to Marcus McGee. Angel, my fighter to watch is Marcus McGee. Do you know Marcus McGee's story, Angel?
I don't know his whole story, but I know him because when Sean was getting ready to fight Piotr, Marcus was there. He was one of the main training partners.
Yeah, man, he is. Marcus McGee is a really cool story. I understand, he's actually kind of my guy to watch all week because his story is interesting. He's been fighting in MMA for over a decade. He's in his 30s now. He's 32 years old. He got the call on 3 days notice, not even a week's notice. He got the call on 3 days notice to face Journey Newsom. And he submits him in the second round. Excellent win. And you're talking about, like I mentioned, he started off 0-2 as an amateur a decade ago. It took him over 11 years to get the call up, dude. And he finally gets it on 3 days notice and he wins. What a fucking story. But outside of that one, what fights do you most want to talk about, man?
Oh, man. You know what fight that kind of surprised Martin Bidet, Jake Collier. Jake Collier gave Martin Bidet some problems, man. I thought Martin Bidet was to be able to get it done. You just get him out of there, to be honest with you. But Jake's a tough guy, man. It just goes to show, you at a heavyweight or in the UFC in general, you can never doubt anybody because you never know who's going to give you trouble. And I felt like Jake gave Martin's a decent look, man. I was actually genuinely surprised. I'm ready. I thought Martin Bidet, and I'm not to be disrespectful, I thought he was going to run over Jake Collier. So nice to see Jake Collier continue to still be competitive and put up good fights, obviously. And that's what he's been doing since return, and since his new move to heavyweight.
I agree. Well, and also Jake Collier, I think because he was a middleweight that just disappeared for like a couple of years and then just showed up back as a heavyweight, people think he's a worse fighter than he is. Like, I know that you have respect for him and I have respect for him, but I think a lot of people, they see that, side-by-side comparison, photo, I'm sure you've seen it, of him at middleweight versus heavyweight, and they think he's not that good. But hey, man, he's picked up some big wins. That fight against Andrei Arlovsky I love me some Andrei Arlovsky. That was one of the worst decisions of all time. But because it was a fight night and because it's Andrei Arlovsky and Jake Collier, nobody talks about it, but that was horrific. Yeah, man. I mean, Jake Collier is pretty decent, but I had higher expectations from Martin Bidet.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, yeah, at least we're on the same page. Another fighter I want to highlight, Erna ELYXR. Ruby, she gives me Ruby Rose vibes, I think it's all the tattoos and the shorter hair. But, 6 submission win for her. I took a peek at her because I was interested. I'm like, okay, she's got a smaller record, but you never know. Labeled Russian Ronda, and shit, I mean, we saw a little bit of there. I know she's a sample player, has some judo under her belt. And, I'm curious to see what she does in her next fight. She looks like an interesting person. So yeah, I want to see more of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I agree. The Russian Ronda, man, she missed weight terribly on fight day.
How bad was it? I did hear about that.
4 pounds.
4 pounds? Fuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, catch weight 140, so. Yeah, 4 pounds with the extra allowance. So. pretty bad. But hey, if you're going to go out there and try and get a win to make people forget about the fact that you missed weight by 4 pounds, that's probably it, man. I mean, that was a pretty good win by her, you know? So we'll see what she does next. But, you know, this was a low-key card. But, Angel, now it's time to break into some big boy fights. Specifically, UFC 288 going down this Saturday night from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. The main event. Aljamain Sterling, the Funk Master, the UFC's bantamweight champion, looking for his 3rd title defense against Triple C Henry Cejudo, the 36-year-old, been out of action for over 3 years. Last fought May 2020, defeating Dom Cruz by 2nd round TKO. Whenever he exited the sport, he left on a streak of wins. Wilson Hayes, Sergio Pettis, Demetrius Johnson, TJ Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes, and Dominic Cruz. At the time whenever he left, I remember us both saying that's one of the greatest runs in MMA history. Now he has the chance to return back 3 years later, beat the bantamweight champion, and add yet another one to his list, into his resume. Angel, give me your thoughts, man. This is a huge fight. I'm very intrigued. And for me, this is about as 50-50 as it gets. There's so many unknowns heading into this one.
Man, I gotta say it, man. There's a lot of pressure on Aljamain.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure because, look, for one, he had to kind of get that respect back after that Piotr fight, right? There's like a lot of clowning there, a lot of stuff from that. And still to this day, you know, he'll still get made fun of for that whole stuff that went down on that night. But I think he needs to come out here and make a statement. I'm curious to see how he's able to deal with the pressure and if it even bothers or even affects him. But these guys are fighters, man. You know, their mental's on a different level. You know, there's, you know, being a champion, you need to be well-rounded in all aspects. Everything from your mind and to your actual physical. So, for Henry, he's been out of action, obviously, for a while now. But people say, oh, no, he's been gone, all this and that. I mean, Henry's been gone, but he's not been away from the sport, though. You know? Where we have some guys who have been away from the sport but haven't been actively involved in it still. I mean, Henry's still done some training. Maybe not training and saying at the shape he needed to be at to be ready for our, you know, fight on short notice. But, you know, enough where he's still involved in the sport and helping people. And he's still in love with the game. You know, he hasn't gone away from it. So I don't think any of that will go there. And let's see if there is any ring rust in there. I don't know. But I will say this. If Henry Cejudo is close at all to what he was when he left, I think he has this fight all day.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's like you said, it's a 50-50. It's as close as it could be. One thing's for sure, though. I know Aljamain Sterling does not have the kind of wrestling that Henry Cejudo has. And Henry Cejudo has kind of become this adaptive kind of complete fighter where he comes in to fight. Not looking like a different guy, but adjusting, you know? And I think he'll be able to do that against Aljamain Sterling. And I don't think it's not just his wrestling and his skills. I think what makes Henry Cejudo such a good fighter is his fucking brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo to win this one.
That's entirely fair. You know, I've gone back and forth on this one. That's pretty much where I land as well. But it's gambling. Because it's a big gamble that Henry Cejudo, because if he's what he is when he left, I agree. I think he'll win this fight. But it's more than just like, you know, hasn't fought in a while. It's been over 3 years. And I understand he's still been around the sport, but he's 36 years old, a lifetime of wrestling, and I don't know if people remember this, but his body was starting to kind of break down whenever he left the sport. You know, that's why I remember he took a lot of time off from whenever he won the bantamweight title to when he defended it, because he had to get like shoulder surgery. I don't remember how bad it was. Remember, he still has the mark on his shoulder. If you even see it, like his shoulders are pretty fucked. So it took him a long time to fight, and then obviously he retired. Now it's been 3 years. He's 36 years old. I just don't, you know, it's like I'm going to go with Aljamain Sterling. I just think I've seen him fight more recently. And I think also Aljamain Sterling, I'm tired of doubting this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's only so many times that people are going to have to learn to stop doubting Aljamain Sterling. You know what I mean? Like, for the Piotr fight, you know, he's going to get destroyed. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. You know, people picked TJ Dillashaw over him, you know, which I didn't understand that at the time either. I think he's going to go out there and beat Henry Cejudo. I think Henry Cejudo is still probably good enough to beat guys in the top 10, maybe even top 5. I just don't And I'm sure his mind's going to play a big role, but I don't even think, like, he's really good, dude. But I even question if if he's only fought at bantamweight twice in his entire career, for example. And those were against an aging Dom Cruz and Marlon Moraes, who fell off a cliff after that fight. And you can argue that was because of the loss, or you can't. You know what I mean? But regardless, he still did. I just think Aljamain has a more proven track record. He's fought more recently. If Henry Cejudo is who he was years ago, then he should win, but I don't know if he is. So I'm going to go and take Aljamain Sterling to get the win, man. As far as the co-main event, we have another big one. Belal, remember the name, Muhammad, taking on Gilbert Burns. Winner of this supposedly will get a title shot. But who knows? Maybe Colby Covington will fight the remains of Matt Hughes, and he'll get another one. So what do you think about this co-main event, man?
All I'm going to say, Josh, is that Henry Cejudo is really going to come out here and GSPS, bro.
He very well might, yeah.
I think he will. I think he is, man. That's the thing. But regardless, kind of to move it forward. By the way, fucking Gilbert Burns, right? What a fucking dog, dude. It's about to fight. What? This is about to be number 4? Or is this number 3?
This will be his 3rd fight this year. 3 fights in 5 months.
There's not that far of a world where Gilbert fights 5 times this year, which is kind of scary. Scary to the welterweight division more than anything. Not scary to me. I actually get very excited if he fights 5 times this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude. I mean, scary for everybody else.
Wow, I did not think this was gonna be the vibe we're gonna get for either one of these guys. I thought Belal was either gonna get fucked and fight Chocolate, and for me, I thought that was potentially a fight for Gilbert too at one point. I thought Belal was on the table, but I wasn't sure with Ramadan and everything going on because Ramadan just ended a week ago, I think. But I guess Belal said, "Fuck that, I can work through that and still train and come out and perform." Mm-hmm. Man, but for me, man, I was ready for a fucking Kamaru Usman, Belal Muhammad, or Gilbert Burns matchup, but I guess the UFC was not looking in that direction. Regardless, we are here now. Look, I think Gilbert's improved a lot over the years. His takedowns have gotten better. His striking has developed. His power at 170 is great. His submissions from the back and the top are good. Not necessarily when he's, at least what we've seen in MMA, obviously in submission grappling, different story, gi or no gi. But he has a nasty armbar, nasty rear naked. Belal's obviously shown his wrestling that has definitely helped him, but I'm curious to see if that's gonna play against him. Is Gilbert gonna be able to make these transitions on the ground to put Belal in these compromise situations, or does the fight even get to the ground and is this more of a stand-up fight with some takedown attempts that don't necessarily go anywhere, and if they do, they're kind of insignificant. And if they do, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning. I've been leaning Gilbert Burns the whole week, man. I just think Gilbert has that edge over Belal. I just think that jiu-jitsu is going to be dangerous on the ground at any point in time, and obviously that power that he has that we've seen at 170 could put Belal in trouble at any point.
Yeah, man. I think I'm on the same page. I was surprised that Belal took this fight. I think coming off of Ramadan and everything, I was really surprised. And obviously for Gilbert, I was not surprised that he took it because he's a fucking dog. And, he's the only guy in that division that'll fight apparently. Look, man, I think that, Gilbert, he's coming off a fight a month ago. I think he's a more in shape guy. I also think stylistically, I don't think Belal's going to have a very easy time. I think Gilbert's better on the feet. I think that if he tries to take him to the mat, it's not going to go well for him. I'm just going to take Gilbert Burns. I think straight up. And I've been very impressed with Belal Muhammad's rise to the top. I think some people are just so, I don't know, like they look at it like it's WWE sometimes. You know what I mean? And I hate that. Because Belal Muhammad, some people are like, oh, he's boring and yada, 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 discounting the fact that he knocked the fuck out of Sean Brady last fight, but whatever. And beat Vincente Luque in a banger. But regardless, he's improved. And I never thought in a million years, all cards on the table, I never thought Belal Muhammad would be as good as he is. And it sucks that this would be where his run ends, but that's what I think is going to happen, But I do think that, he's had a hell of a run so far, and maybe he can scratch his way back to the top, but I think, there's a reason why it's not Colby Covington and Bilal Muhammad situation. You know what I mean? He's they just don't take him very highly as a draw, or they just don't find him interesting. UFC, I mean. And to be fair, a lot of fans don't like the guy either for some reason. So, yeah, it sucks that his run's probably going to end here, but I'm going to go ahead and take Gilbert Burns. I mean, Bilal could pull off the upset. I wouldn't be surprised if he won, but I just don't think it's going to work out for him. Next up on the main card, dude, women's strawweights. Jessica Andrade is a badass. I mean, we're talking about Gilbert Burns 3 fights in 5 months. Same thing for her too, dude. She already beat Lauren Murphy and lost to Erin Blanchfield earlier this year. She's taking on Yan Xiaonan. Winner of this needs to get a title shot. I think it is fucking crazy to me that there's not more people talking about the fact that Zhang Weili has not fought, in a while. I mean, she fought in November, which is not that long ago.
But it feels like a while ago.
It's been 6 months. I was trying to be nice, but it's been 6 months. There's no fight on the horizon. Winner of this has to get a title shot, right?
I mean, yeah, I believe so, but man, bro, Marina Rodriguez just had to lose to Amanda Lemos, bro. No hate, but she was the one. I thought she was to be one to come next in line. I thought she was going to get her title shot. Obviously, she's on the undercard on the prelims, but we'll get to her later. Kind of jump back into the third fight from the top. Man, Josh, I've been saying it for a while, man. I want this China super fight. Yan Xiaonan, Weili Zhang, big arena. I don't know how many people they're going to have there, but I don't have big numbers. Song Yadong on the co-main event against a big fighter, or some big name. Look, I think there's a path to victory for Yan Xiaonan. I think Jessica Andrade has been very active lately, and I think that could obviously play against her. I think it kind of did in her last fight. That was a pretty decently short notice fight for her. She had just fought in Brazil, and what was it, like, not even a month and a half later, she fought Erin, and
yeah,
and she fucking was swinging for the fences, man, because she's like, fuck, man, I don't know how much it got in me, but I need to get this chick out of here. Once again, it hasn't been that long. Obviously, there's been a sizable break since the last two, but there's been a lot of and we kind of mentioned this a while ago. Do you remember, Josh? This might have been a conversation that it might not even been last year, but it might have been the year before that, where we're like, she has a lot of fights on her belt, and she's taken, there might be some damage worn on her,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's 34 professional fights. That's a lot for any fighter, let alone a female fighter, because there's not many female fighters that are especially coming into the UFC. I mean, shit, we just saw a gal last week fight with a 4-1 record, coming into the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we got Jessica Andrade here, who's fought 34 times in her lifetime as an MMA fighter, let alone, I think most of those were in the UFC at that. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think that you can make a case of Jessica Andrade. I think you can make the case that the damage is starting to get to her, but I don't know if you can make that case yet. I think we need some more. I mean, I admittedly thought that might have been the case after she lost to Zhang Weili. I remember thinking that at the time. And since then, I mean, she got TKO'd by Valentina, but she hasn't even really been rocked outside of that. So, I think it's going to be one of those things we're going to see. But I don't think, even if she has taken a lot of damage, I don't think Yan Xiaonan is going to be the one to show it. I mean, if you look at her UFC career, not a single finish on there. All of her finishes came from outside the UFC, including a TKO win over an unknown fighter, according to her Wikipedia page back in 2008. So that's literally what it says. It just says unknown fighter as I'm looking right now. So, I mean, Yan Xiaonan, just at the top level, she does not have the ability to seemingly get a finish. I'm going to go ahead and take Jessica Andrade here. And I honestly, I prefer if Yan Xiaonan won, to be completely frank with you. I think she should have gotten a title shot back in 2021, and she didn't. And, you mentioned Marina Rodriguez losing. The fact that Zhang Weili doesn't have an opponent right now is entirely the UFC's fault. I mean, that division has had multiple contenders rise up. And I think just because that's the only division with high-profile women in it right now, or with the most high-profile women in it, I mean, that just for example, Marina Rodriguez, who clearly earned a title shot, didn't get it. Instead, they gave it to, I don't remember who, Zhang Weili, I'm pretty sure. They gave it to Zhang Weili, and then they also gave it to, Rose over her. So, and then same thing for Yan Xiaonan. So and then here, same thing. You know what they're hoping for with this fight, and I think they're going to get it. I think Jessica Andrade is going to win. I think they're going to give her a title shot next for a potential rematch with Zhang Weili, but we'll see what happens. Next up on the card, man, Movsar Evanoff, 16-0, savage, undefeated in general, undefeated in the UFC, picked up some big wins over names such as Dan Ige, Hakeem Dawodu, and more, taking on Bryce Mitchell, just a couple of months removed from the first loss of his career in December when he lost to ELYXR by submission. He's now back, man. He's originally supposed to face Jonathan Pierce, but instead it'll be Evanoff who replaced him. So what do you think, man? What do you think about this fight? I think it's very interesting that Bryce Mitchell is returning so soon, and I'm surprised that this is a matchup he's accepting.
It's a very big difference in opponents, I'd say, different styles at that. I don't think Movsar and Jonathan Pierce are anything alike. Obviously, they both have capabilities on the ground, but I think they're completely different. I'm curious to see how Movsar is doing, how he looks on taking the short notice. I mean, obviously, do we know how short notice it was? By any chance?
I can find out right now.
It was decently. I mean, he couldn't. I mean, he didn't have like a full camp. Let's put it like that. Regardless, though,
he accepted the fight on April 15th.
Oh wow!
So not much.
Wow, yeah, no, that was like what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, not that long ago, but for the moment, I mean, I think the former M1 global champion is going to be able to do it, man. I mean, this guy. By the way, do you know how many Instagram followers Movsar Evanoff has? Just take a guess.
Is it more than I think?
I'm bringing it up. So
I'll guess 100,000.
He has 1 million, or like 4 million, something crazy like that.
Damn. All right.
But he has like a lot of like viral Instagram clips that you've seen and I've sent to you before in the past. Mm-hmm. Regardless, I mean, you haven't seen him get any finishes in the UFC. Sadly, we've seen a lot of. I mean, there's plenty of highlights out there. You guys can go on YouTube or Instagram look at of him when he was in his time at M1 Global. Bryce Mitchell was down in California training at 10th Planet for a bit. I remember we saw some videos of that, Josh. Mm-hmm. Movsar formerly trained at Tiger Muay Thai for a while, now at ATT. Look, I'm picking the Russian, man. I hate to be that guy, but I just think he's going to have better striking than Bryce. I don't think there's that big of a difference in striking, though. I think I will say I do think Bryce's success from striking has come from the fact that he does have that takedown threat. So it's given him the opportunity to have openings on the feet. I'm curious to see how they cancel out when it comes to wrestling. You know, will one guy be able to, put the other guy into his own will and not give him any opportunity? I think Movsar in his last 2 fights has like 18 takedowns. He had like 16 attempts against his last opponent. So I don't know. What's going to happen there against Bryce? We've seen what Bryce can do on the ground and hold down guys and obviously find success there. But I don't know if he's going to be able to hold down Movsar. And vice versa. I don't know if Movsar will be able to hold down Bryce. So I give the slight edge to Movsar. I think he just has a slightly better striking, and if he's able to stop any of Bryce's takedowns, I think it'll be a pretty good night in the office. I don't know if he'll be able to recreate what ELYXR did, but if he does, holy shit, that's definitely going to be a breakdown for Bryce Mitchell during the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of, I'll be straight up. I think if this was normal notice, I'd pick Movsar absolutely. Going away, but it's not. It's short notice. I'm still going to go ahead and take him to get the win. I think he has the edge in the striking. I also don't think Bryce Mitchell, I think the fact that he's taken this fight so soon after because he got clobbered against ELYXR, people forget, he beat him so badly he wanted to retire. I understand that was an emotional thing he said in the moment, but still, like, that was something that happened. Like, he got brutalized, man. So, yeah, I'm going to go take Movsar, man. I think the fact that he's turning him around. And also, we had some weird shit. Do you remember seeing the video on, like, Twitter of, like, Bryce Mitchell, like, walking around California with, like, a fucking shopping cart full of shit just in the rain?
I told you, bro. He was at 10th Planet with our boy, Eddie Bravo.
I know. I'm just saying, like, like, that was a little bit. We never got an update on that either. It's just like, what the fuck is he doing? He
you're not wrong.
That was that's a little bit concerning to see that video after the guy just got knocked. He didn't get knocked out, but he got beat the shit out of. and, talk about retirement, and to see that video is like a little bit concerning, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to see what is going to be the regain. I think that's the big thing. Like, how is he going to regain?
Yeah.
How does he bounce back? How does he look? And look, he can lose and still look good. I know that sounds fucking terrible to say, right? Fucking there is no world victory, whatever, right? But you got to put it in comparison to how his last fight looked. I mean, we went from like him dropping Edson Barbosa, and having this big kind of moment, and being like, oh shit, Bryce Mitchell might be the fucking truth, guys, to fucking Alien Taporia just coming in and wrecking house, The high and the lows are insane. So what is the regain? What is the recovery? How does he look in there? Is he hesitant? I think those are a lot of questions. And they didn't do him any favors as far as matchmaking, Josh. They were going to I thought Jonathan Pierce would have been and not to disrespect Jonathan Pierce, I think Jonathan Pierce is a very good guy who has a lot of potential, has a lot of come up, but made sense as a step back in competition. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because Jonathan Pierce, to a certain extent, is still unproven when it comes to the higher echelon of the UFC at this time. Mm-hmm. Where Movsar is a ranked guy, beat ranked guys, and is undefeated. And a Russian.
And that's the worst part.
So, yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say outside of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So I'm on the same page there. So I'm gonna go take Movsar. Ilyiv laid it out there really well. So I mean, opening up the main card, we got a banger, like kind of interesting placement here, but like kind of down with it, honestly. We got Kron Gracie. This is gonna be Kron Gracie's first fight since October 2019 when he lost to Cub Swanson. He's gonna be taking on Charles Jourdain. Air Jourdain, one of the most entertaining guys in the UFC, riding a 2-fight losing streak, kind of needs this one. What do you think about this matchup?
Man, I did not expect to see this on the main card. It threw me off, and the fact that I didn't even know Kron was coming back. And I just remembered that I was looking through the cards, and I was like, oh shit, Kron's fighting? Fuck me, dude. It's been forever, but welcome back, I guess, on the main event against Charles Jourdain. To dive into the fight a little bit, I think, and I heard someone say this, man, and I agree. I think the main objective of the fight is, can Charles Jourdain have good fight IQ for 15 minutes? Is that possible? Is that possible? Because look, you know what you got to do, Josh, right?
Yeah.
You got to not go to the ground, not enter this man's guard.
You got to dart in and out, light on the feet.
Yeah, just do what you got to do. But is Charles Jourdain going to do that? I don't know. Kron's been gone a while. I'm curious to see how, once again, kind of just like Henry, man, they've been both out of action for, what is it? Kron's been out longer though, right? 4 years?
It's been 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so another question mark there. It's kind of crazy. We start the card with a guy who's been gone for years, and we end the card with a guy who's been gone for 3 years. Right? And I'm curious to see what Kron has improved since then. Like, what improvements has he done? Is he going to have kind of like a T-City, kind of like, okay, we kind of got a little revamp here, you know what I mean? Has Kron developed his striking more? Because obviously that definitely had a lot of flaws. It needed a lot of it needed to be worked on. He had no diversity necessarily in takedowns. A lot of his takedowns came from just dropping weight on people, and also essentially pulling guard. Has he developed some sort of wrestling since then that he'll be able to use in this fight? And if he's done that, I think this fight is going to have a completely different look than what we expect if there's been improvements. But if this is the same Kron Gracie that we saw 4 years ago, and Charles Jourdain is able to put in place the right stuff that he needs to do and fight intelligently and avoid Kron Gracie's submissions or entering his guard or having the fight go to the ground at any point, then I think we're going to see a Charles Jourdain win, and I'm going to go Charles Jourdain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're kind of relying on Charles Jourdain to be perfect for 15 minutes. I don't think he can do that.
I don't think he can, but I think he will be for this one fight.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jourdain picked up the win here. I'm just going to go and take Kron Gracie, man. I just think He doesn't have to be perfect, He'll let rounds slip. Now, granted, we're talking about Charles Jourdain making a mistake. Chrome Gracie fought 15 minutes with Cub Swanson, didn't shoot a takedown. So, I'm doing I'm going out on a limb here, hoping that Chrome Gracie himself will actually try to go to the ground. So, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually going to take Charles Jourdain. Not even joking. I'm not even joking. So yeah, I'll change it. Why not? Just because, Chrome Gracie, man, he has it. He has it. I truly believe it, but it's just, we're talking about Charles Jourdain making intelligent decisions. Chrome Gracie thinks the earth is flat, so I don't know what,
Are you telling me the earth isn't flat, Josh?
Yes.
I think you're wrong there.
Well, it's not an opinion.
Well, I know that.
It's science.
I know. I have those
facts. What are you going to do, fucking fall off? What do you mean?
Dude, you just come out the other side. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? Anyways, man, undercard. What do you think? We got a couple of big names on here, a couple of bangers. Which ones are you most looking forward to?
To be honest, the whole, not that this was the early prelims, but the regular prelims are pretty stacked, man. Kind of going one down, going into what do you call it? The curtain jerker, as you said, Josh, before in the past. Drew Dober, Matt Frivola, kind of gonna be leading us into the main card. That's a fucking banger there. By the way, ranked implications if Matt Frivola wins this, right? Because I believe Drew Dober's ranked 14 right now. I could be incorrect on that.
I think he's ranked somewhere around there.
I'm checking just to confirm. Drew Dober is number 14. So,
all right, there you go.
Big time fight for Matt Frivola, getting a huge opportunity here. I'm a fan of that. Guys that I've mentioned on the podcast in the past repeatedly: Devin Clark, Kennedy Nzechukwu. Big time fight for Kennedy. Like I said, my thing for me, and it's something I've mentioned repeatedly on the podcast about him, is he's learning on the job. He's still getting better fight to fight. He came into the UFC with a smaller record. He was 5-0 or 4-0 or something like that at the time, and is pretty much since then started developing and becoming a better fighter while in the UFC. I love this guy's story. I like his fight style. He's very tough, very durable, and he's taking on a guy who's also very tough and very durable in Devin Clark. So I think we're due for a potential maybe fight of the night there at 205. Who knows? And then Chaos Williams, man. Man, how long has it been since we had a Chaos Williams fight, man, Josh? I just thought about that.
It feels like it's been a minute.
A year.
It's been a year. It's been a year. So there you go.
Holy shit. Well, I need it in my life. So good thing we're getting it now.
Yeah, right? You shouted out. We are the Devin Clark fan club, so I'm glad you went in and shouted out our boy, man. Brown Bear. Coming off a win over Jung Jung. Yeah, that could be a fun fight, man. Kennedy and Nzechukwu. Who did he's coming off he knocked out Ian Cutelaba and he knocked out Carl Robertson. He's coming in here with some heat, man. So our boy Devin, he has a tough task ahead of him. You know what, Angel? Go ahead. I interrupted you, but why don't you give me, since we're talking about fights, why don't you give me your fighter to watch for this week?
My fighter to watch this week is someone that you guys probably won't expect or probably don't even know the name of. And if you do, you only know him for one reason. Yeah. And that is Ikram Aliskerov. Oh, is that yours, Josh?
Yeah, fuck man.
Do you want to give the story?
You can give the story. You can give the story, man.
So this is a former Hamzat Chimaev opponent. He lost in the first round uppercut back in Brave CF 23 in 2019. I believe that was his fight right before he made his UFC debut. Since then, this young man has been able to win, 5 fights straight, one on the Contender Series, and has made his way into the UFC and will be making his debut on a pay-per-view, so maybe looking to get back one up on the Wolf.
Potentially, man. And if you guys go, have you even seen that fight? Him and Hamzat?
I saw it as soon as I found out he was going to be in. It's funny.
It's not long. It's only 2 minutes, but
I saw it when Hamzat got into UFC, and I saw it probably a week or two ago.
Okay. Yeah, Ikram is the real fucking deal. If you look at his combat Sambo resume, and you see some of his accomplishments that have accomplishments outside of MMA, this guy's a bad motherfucker, man. And he's fighting up at middleweight too, so we're probably going to see him and Hamzat Chimaev cross paths again. And that's going to be really fucking cool. But, you took my guy, so I had to improvise. I did have a backup because I figured you're probably going to take it anyway. Rafael Estevam, 11-0, 26 years young, out of Macapá, Brazil. And, yeah, man, I mean, obviously he got him here by winning a Contender Series fight back in September 2022 by defeating J.O. Elias, sorry, these are Portuguese names, by ground and pound knockout. I mean, Grant, you look at his resume, man, obviously it's kind of hard to tell with some of these guys who are making their debut. You don't really know, and you look at their resume, and it kind of looks all right, but that's always regional MMA. You don't know who a lot of these guys are. He's an interesting guy. I've looked up a couple of highlights of him. If you look at the majority of his wins come by the way of finish. I'm intrigued to see what he does here in his UFC debut against Zhalgas Zagulomov. 14-8. Obviously, we know the story here. Multiple-time UFC veteran. 1-5, too. So it kind of shows you what they think of Rafael, too, that they're giving him a guy that's on the way out to presumably get a big win over. So we'll see what happens there, man. But regardless, this card should be a banger, dude. I mean, I think that main card is this card's top-heavy. I mean, this card's very top-heavy. I think the main card's excellent. I think you kind of get down to the prelims and, it's but there are still some interesting names, And quick shout-out, Verna Janajaroba, my girl, obviously 18-3, former Invicta champion. I gotta always shout her out because she was there, one of the first events I ever covered, Invicta 31. Her title defense against her title defense against Janiza Morandin in the main event, picking up the win. Years later, now she's in the UFC and she's ranked number 9, trying to still get that title shot. Taking on Marina Rodriguez. We'll see how that one goes. Should be a fun fight regardless, though. So, yeah, man. And the closing thoughts on UFC 288 before we go ahead and move on.
I mean, I want to highlight one other guy that I mentioned a week ago, Braxton Smith. This guy fought in MMA back in 2014, made his professional debut against Shay Sherman. By the way, I've tried to find this fight. I can't find it. It just says loss. This happened at V3 Fights way back in the day. And I'm not sure, I haven't done a crazy amount of research looking into this, but he decided to come back into fighting last year in 2022. Took 4 fights, knocked everybody out in the first round, and now he's making his UFC debut against Parker Porter. I don't know. I don't know how much success he'll find. I mean, it's heavyweight, man. Anybody we can get, we'll take, so. And especially, I mean, shit, he knocked out 4 guys in a row in the first round, so. That's impressive as is. He's a smaller heavyweight. He's 5'11", which, like Josh says, that's not real height, so he's probably 5'10", maybe even 5'9". But, yeah. And I also, Jake Sherman is in the UFC. I mean, could they run that back after all these years? This back in 2014. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, man. That is interesting. I didn't think about that. I didn't even know that.
That was 9 years ago, Josh.
That's a pretty interesting lore, dude.
What if he was plotting this? He's like, 10 years, I'm going to get that one back.
He's been sitting just in a dark room,
Meditating.
Yeah, right? But anyways, man, yeah. I mean, we got another card to go over this week, and you said in the green room that this is actually arguably better than the UFC's card. And I think you might be right, because this coming Friday on Amazon Prime, we got One Fight Night 10, ladies and gentlemen, the trilogy between flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson taking on Adriano Moraes. DJ has said this might be his final fight. Granted, not confirmed yet, but it might be. And ahead of potentially the final fight of arguably the GOAT. What do you think, man? I mean, these two have fought twice before. Moraes upset him in the first time. DJ returned with a flying knee knockout in the second last year. What do you think about the trilogy?
Look, for one, I mean, all 3 fights have been great. All been very competitive. And if it is the end of DJ's career, I mean, what a way would it be to end it in a trilogy fight against a guy that you've had a banger of a fight, was the last guy to beat you in recent time. Are we doing a pick for this one, Josh? Just because it's
I mean, we can if we want.
I mean, Josh, I gotta pick my GOAT, Josh. Demetrius Johnson. Insert the clip. That's why he's the GOAT.
That's why he's the GOAT. No, man. I mean, same page. Yeah. I mean, I think he's gonna go out there and pull off the win. I I think Demetrius Mouse Johnson is the greatest fighter of all time. I've been very upfront about that. It's either him or Fedor Emelianenko. I've always been consistent in that opinion. I still believe that. I think DJ is the most well-rounded guy. I think, people always like, if he scaled up all fighters, yada, 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 they're the same height and weight. I don't think anybody beats Demetrius Mouse Johnson. I think technically he's the greatest fighter we've ever seen. His speed is unlike no other. I think he's going to go out here and pick up the win. I think Adriano Moraes could pull out the upset, though. He's still very, very good. But I'm going to go and take DJ here to get the win. And, dude, you mentioned, like I said, cards arguably better than the UFC 288. Well, if you take a look at the undercard, that might sound crazy on paper, but then you look at some of these names, dude. I mean, you got Rod Tang in the co-main, Mikey Musumeci showing up here for submission grappling. You got Stan Fairtex, Sage Northcutt. Sage Northcutt has been out of action for over 4 years, or almost.
Another guy, dude, who's been gone forever and also coming back this weekend. I
know, what the hell is going on, dude? I mean, we got Cejudo, who's been out forever, coming back. Sage Northcutt, 4 years, got knocked out by Cosmo Alexandra in May 2019, and he broke pretty much everything in his face. But now he's back, dude. I mean, what fights are you most looking forward to on One Fight Night 10?
For one, I'm waiting for Robert Soldier's official debut. Obviously, he made his debut. It sucked, man. It was a groin strike. It ended the fight. By the way, there's like some crazy story about that, like how he went to fucking, his home country, to go sign him. And fucking, like, they went to, like, Mirko Krokop's house, and they were fucking there eating and shit, and it was, like, a whole thing. I don't know where Chaudhry talked about it. I heard about it on a podcast. But I need to find it, but that shit sounds sick as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And probably my other kind of look for, I mean, fuck, man, there's so many. I mean, I could highlight all of them. Probably De Ridder versus Ty Ruotolo. If you guys follow jiu-jitsu at all, or kind of have any sort of interest in the kind of, I guess, pro grappling world, you guys are probably aware about the Ruotolo brothers. I mean, these kids are a special talent. And Ty is obviously, this is his second fight, or I guess second bout in one. And I'm very excited because they're giving him a guy in De Ridder, who's bigger and is obviously taking these kind of cool one-off grappling matches within one. Been a little while since we saw him last December. Obviously, he went up to heavyweight. Things didn't work out. He was trying to capture 3 titles. It is what it is. But I think it's kind of cool that he's going back straight into a fight, but kind of doing a submission thing against a very young, talented kid who's obviously proven himself through ADCC and just the grappling community as a whole.
Mm. No, I agree, and I think that's one of the cool things about One Championship. And we kind of talked about this in the green room, but the fact that Chaudhry and this organization is letting opportunities. Because, for example, I wouldn't know Mikey Musumeci normally. I would not know him. Like, I follow grappling a little bit, but admittedly, I'm way more educated on just about every other martial art. Like, I know more about boxing, MMA, kickboxing, fucking any other sport, and that kind of whole combat sport sphere. I know more about than jiu-jitsu. But now I know how good Mikey Musumeci is, thanks to One Championship, and guys like Rod Tang too. Muay Thai's obviously in there. And you shouted out Rene De Ridder. He's going to be on the YouTube prelims, man. So if you don't, it's literally free. Go watch that dude. He is legit. He's one of the greatest fighters on the planet right now. Granted, it's grappling. He's not going to be fighting. And he is coming off the first loss of his career in December. But Rene De Ridder is still a real deal. So that'll be fun. But yeah, man, I think any closing thoughts on this card? I know we were not spending much time on this because admittedly I'm more excited about the main event than anything else, but, closing thoughts on this card.
Nothing else, man. I think we highlighted it kind of perfectly, mentioned everything we're excited about, and I think, the big things are going to be coming back next week and talking about all the crazy results that probably are going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But Angel, we still got more stuff to talk about, man. We still got some news to hit, news to cover. Because, we haven't really talked about this, but just about every UFC adjacent podcast talks about this. Francis Ngannou. Angel, he fumbled the bag, Angel. Angel, he fumbled the bag. We don't know anything about what he's doing, but he fumbled the bag, dude. Nobody wants to work with him. Apparently, he's so afraid of John Jones, and has such a big ego that nobody wants to work with him. Well, that's not really the case. So one championship we just talked about, Shot Street came out yesterday and said we did not even bother submitting our final offer for Francis Ngannou. They said it wasn't financial, but they said that they didn't even see a point. So this is something that Ariel Helwani later talked about this. I personally have some people who have talked about this and I can personally attest to the fact that Francis Ngannou said the PFL. You know, he's going to be head to PFL. In my opinion, it's always going to be PFL or Bellator, man. Both of those organizations have contracts and they have ties to boxing companies, and that's part of what he wants to do. But now we pretty much know the destination. You know, BKFC said that wasn't going to happen. One championship said it wasn't going to happen. Now it's just PFL and Francis Ngannou. Is this the right place? What do you think about him heading on over there?
I mean, fuck, man. I mean, it's not what we want, but if that's what Francis wants, then I'm okay with it. I'll support it. That's pretty much the whole of it, man. I mean, if boxing wasn't going to happen in the UFC, he would just have to leave and go somewhere else. PFL isn't necessarily the place I would want him to go necessarily. I would have loved for him to stay in the UFC and be able to do everything he wanted to do while in the UFC, because there's a lot of fights there that I wanted to see still. Mainly, obviously, like everybody wanted to see the John one. That was a big one. But, I mean, we'll probably never get that now, so. Mm-hmm. At least if I could see Francis go into boxing and do that, it'd be cool. And maybe make a miracle happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I see all these people they're saying that Francis Ngannou fumbled the bag. And admittedly, did he? I don't know. But I think that's kind of not his point, you know? I feel like if you ever listen to anything the guy said, that was kind of not his point, you know? Francis Ngannou has always been very upfront about the fact that one of the reasons he left the UFC is a lack of respect. And they offered him a lot of money. And obviously money is a part of it. It's the fight business. But, you know, Francis Ngannou decided I would rather have the possibility of losing and not getting as much money and doing things that I want to do and not having to deal with Dana White. Like, people forget that the UFC tried to sue Ngannou. Like, they sent him they told him they were going to sue him on the day he fought Cyril Gane. Do you remember how, Angel, do you remember whenever he knocked out Overeem back in 2018, and then they gave him a title shot a month later? They didn't give him any time. They gave him a title shot a month later, and then he lost it, and they immediately started shitting on him. You know what I mean? Why would Francis Ngannou want to be in the UFC? I understand it's the money aspect, but he's going to get paid regardless. Like, I understand some people are just delusional, and they don't think that Ngannou's a draw, and it's like, yeah, like, there's a reason why every other organization's already talked to the guy, and it's just he's heading to PFL. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And obviously the John Jones fight falling through. Everybody wants to see that fight. I get it. It really sucks, like, that it's not happening. But, I mean, I just feel like some people can seem to wrap, like, their head around the fact that he just didn't want to sign with the UFC. You know what I mean? It's not fumbling the bag. It's some people just have morals, and they have certain things that motivate them more than money. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the reasons he left in the first place. But, yeah, man, I mean, any closing thoughts? I mean, I think we got to put it pretty well, but.
No, I mean, I think we talked about everything, kind of covered all.
Yeah.
Everything as best as we could. We're just waiting for, apparently, supposedly, officially, it'll come out where he's signing potentially soon. Mm-hmm. But nothing's official yet. But as soon as it does, we'll let you guys know and kind of let you guys know our thoughts on that. But like Josh is kind of alluding to, and obviously not alluding to, but stating that it's looking like PFL. And obviously, I just sent you on Twitter while we were doing the podcast when we started. That tweet came out that Chaudhry is no longer trying to pursue Francis. So
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, some people are like, you know, Ngannou was afraid, and I don't even know what to. There's some people who are like, you know, Ngannou's just afraid of the UFC, and Dana said that, and I don't know what to tell you. If there are still people believing what Dana White says about fighters leaving the UFC, I can't help you. You know, like you can just Google Dana White afraid fighter. You know what I mean? And it's just. They're always afraid, according to this fucking boxer size coach. You know what I mean? Ngannou, the guy that was so fucking poor that he measured time by how long his shoes until they would fall apart in Cameroon. That fucking guy. Yeah, he's afraid to get in the guy who traveled 3,000 miles across 5 different countries. He had to fucking make a homemade raft without knowing how to swim. He lived in a fucking parking lot stairwell in Paris. And now he went from that to being the baddest man on the planet. And you're telling me he's fucking afraid? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, let's be realistic. The guy just didn't want to be there. And now he's in a place where he wants to be, and that's the best outcome for all parties. But I don't know if you've been seeing all the people talk about, Francis, but I don't know. It just pisses me off. Mm-hmm. Just like everybody talks about fighters wanting to make a stand, and then one of them finally does, and everybody turns on him. But that's the way MMA goes. Speaking of fights, speaking of MMA, Kamaru Usman. It hasn't been that long since he lost to Leon Edwards. Apparently, he said he's already back training. He's already in, and he wants Khamzat Chimaev next. Dude, is that the fight to make? Obviously, we've heard Khamzat fighting in 185. We've heard about him fighting in 170. We heard about him not fighting at all. Last time he fought was September. It's May. No booked fight. Is this the right one to make?
Josh, I'm always DTF. Down to fight. Of course I want this fight to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's about how I feel about it too, I mean, honestly, I think it's a bit, I talked about this with you yesterday, or not yesterday, but Sunday, but, I think it's weird about how quickly Khamzat's kind of momentum just fell off, like it fell off a cliff. And obviously, I'm sure it'll probably pick up by his next fight, but man, he was everywhere for a minute there. It felt like he was like going to be the next star, like a mega star. And then just, he's missed the weight against Diaz, and then he's been out since September, no booked fight, still don't know what weight class, so on and so forth. We will see what happens though, man. Last bit of news. The only reason I want to talk about this is just because, like, for one, great clip content. For two, it's just
I do want you to know on that Khamzat thing, like, he still has attention though. Like, I just went on his Instagram.
No, of course not.
His last post got like 37,000 likes.
Oh, that's not at all I'm not saying he's
the one before that got 88,000. Like, I might have slowed down, but I don't think he needs to be talked about. Like, he already has his attention. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It's already there. I think maybe the way you're referring to it is, or maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, but the way I feel like you're talking about it is like the fact that like it's still not not like growing anymore. Like, it's still, because it felt like it was just going up and up and up and up and up, and we didn't know if it was ever going to come down.
My point is more that I felt like Khamzat Chimaev could have had a Conor McGregor type run. I really do feel like that. I think the way that he was being so active, because I think I said it on the show back then, like I was getting shades of early McGregor, not in terms of fight style or the way they speak or anything like that, but like getting in there, getting big wins in such quick succession that like he was just moving up the ladder so quick and getting so much star power so quick to where it was like, holy shit. And then it's just, I mean, I'm not saying that he's not a star. He obviously still is. He could have been more. You know what I mean? And he still might be, but.
There's definitely factors into it. I think, obviously he affected some of it with the weight miss, but hey man, if he peaked at this really kind of look forward to fighter and maybe not this super mega guy like Conor that was like, this could be like super crazy generational talent, not just within fighting, but outside of fighting. And I don't know, but I think, I feel like he's one of those guys that if you follow the UFC at all, you probably know his name, Mm-hmm. You will most definitely know his name. You could be a super casual fan and you know who he is,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a star. That's not at all what I'm saying.
No, I know that's not what you're trying to say.
But I think it's just more like, man, he was so close to like, because I'm a sucker for that thing, man. Whenever some guy just like comes into like his own and he just becomes like a fucking star. You know what I mean?
But you're not wrong. Not wrong.
Yeah.
You kind of do wonder, what if he kept going? What if it just...
And now he's kind of plateaued. And I get that. And I was always going to have it at some point. It was so quick that like the hype train came screeching to its fucking, a stall, I guess. But
yeah, he's fought. Fuck, man. It's been over a year now, right?
So he fought last September against Kevin Holland, but that's whenever he missed weight against Diaz by 8 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And then before that, he fought in April. So he's fought.
So, it hasn't been that long, but yeah, It feels like he should be coming up on something soon.
But September to May with no fights announced, it'd be one thing if he had a fight booked. I don't think I'd be saying anything. But the fact that we haven't even heard a rumor.
Mm-hmm. But granted, though, I feel like to a certain extent, though, I feel like that's not his fault, though. You know what I mean? I feel like you know how we were like, fuck, man, why can't Jones book a fight? But that was Stipe's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily the case here.
I don't know, Josh.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but I just
obviously you don't know for sure, but I want to believe that that's not the case because, I mean, we've heard rumors of people we heard Paulo, we fucking heard all the shit that's going on with Paulo, and that fight hasn't happened, you know?
Well, yeah, and that's why I think it's Chimaev, because we've heard Chimaev linked to like 7 different names, and none of them's happened. That's why I think it's Chimaev.
Granted, though, he might just be one of those people that just gets mentioned in a lot of those conversations.
He might.
It's just, it's not even really like a thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? We don't know any of this for a fact. We'll fucking never know. All we could expect is to hopefully get a fight announcement soon, because we want to see him. And if it is Kamaru Usman, if that is true, then fuck, dude, yeah, at 170 again, potentially get that title shot after that, like, fuck, man, maybe we could get back on that high train, kind of where we left off a little bit. Maybe not exactly where we was at, but pretty close to where we was at before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, fair enough. But I think it's about enough time on Hamza Chimaev because Angel. Last topic of the day. This thing, I'm seeing it on places where it's not even YouTube, and it's like I saw the clips of and posters of this fight have already gone viral. So I feel like we need to do our part in talking about this fight because Angel, 800 pounds, one ring. Wings of Redemption will be taking on Boogie 2988 on the undercard of KSI versus Joe Fournier.
I actually don't know those names, Josh. I only know Richard Jordan and Stephen Williams.
You know Richard Jordan?
Richard Jordan, a.k.a. Wings of Redemption.
Yeah. Look here! Look! Listen! Like one of those type of things.
Yeah.
Look, Angel, appearing offline does not fucking stop it, okay? Why'd you stream that shit? Just gotta get them all out there. All the great Wings quotes, yeah. I mean, if I can, this is arguably the funniest, are we on agreement that this is the funniest YouTube boxing match so far?
Probably. I mean, it's the biggest, it's funny.
It's the biggest one.
Not trying to make a pun here, but the biggest freak show fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is Akebono level territory, to make an MMA comparison, man.
By the way, have you watched the Keem documentary at all?
Dude, I loved the Keem documentary.
Dude, I haven't. I need to watch it. I'll watch it as soon as I get off, and I'll text you my.
Dude, it's only 30 minutes long, but you see them both working out, and you see them hitting the pads and hitting the bag, and dude.
Early thoughts. How do they look? I
think, well, for one, they both look like fucking morbidly obese men hitting the punching bag, but I think that as far as like actual, I mean. If you're asking me to try and break down the X's and O's of Wings of Redemption versus Boogie 988,
that is 100% what I'm asking, Josh.
Okay, I think Wings is gonna fuck him up. I think he is. I think so.
I think Boogie has heart. I
think Boogie has heart. He's got a big heart, if you know what I'm saying. But I think if you actually watch Wings like hit the bag, I'm like, yeah, he's like 390 pounds or 400 pounds or whatever. But it's like he actually doesn't look too bad, But that's probably he's like in his 30s, Yeah. Like Boogie 298 is like 40 something. But hey, man,
holy shit! It's almost a 10 age. It is like a 10-year age difference.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Boogie was damn near 50. What the fuck is this mismatch?
Yeah, right, dude. I mean, in terms of entertainment, right? This is two lol cows duking it out.
Dude, by the way, can I just say this right now? Whenever you put this in the TikTok, can you please insert that moment where Boogie's hitting the fucking Domino's pizza boxes as pads? Holy fuck, that is so true.
I saw somebody do like a breakdown of the fight, and they were like, strength, wings, accuracy, wings, agility, wings, and then it's like, what is it? Street cred, Boogie, and it's him with the gun. That's what Wings has really got to watch out for, Is Boogie 2988 from the streets, the mean streets of Fayetteville, Arkansas.
I love I mentioned this before. You know how they're gonna they put up their teletape, and I mentioned how Bobby Green when he fought Joe Lozon's brother, he whenever they asked him what his fight style was, he put hood. I hope Boogie chooses hood.
Yeah, Boogie 2988. His fight style is hood. Yeah, man. That's dude, I can't wait for like whenever they do like the tail of the tape. Sometimes they have moving graphics. If they have moving graphics, like
Boogie's about to look like Ben Askren when he did the fucking strike. Yo.
Do you, Wing said if he wins, he's gonna do another one. So who do you want to see Wings of Redemption fight if he wins?
Oh fuck, dude! Who else could? None other
DSP, Darkside Phil.
No, dude. Who other than our boy, Epic Mealtime?
No,
Harley,
that's not
Harley.
Fair. That's not fair. You know what we gotta do? There's two ways this can go, Angel. Okay. Do you want the good ending or the bad ending of the Wings of Redemption boxing career?
I don't care, bro.
All right, there's two avenues. One, he beats Boogie tonight at 8, and then he has his long-awaited face-off with his friend turned foe, FPS Russia.
Jesus Christ! I mean, Russia's literally on roids. So.
Well, FPS Russia was gonna fight that coward Diego Sanchez until he ducked him.
That is crazy. That was almost a possibility.
I know, right? Dude, the UFC fighter ran from him. I can't believe it. He ducked him, dude. Crazy. But it's either we're gonna get that or we're gonna get what if the lights go down at the fight and then all of a sudden you hear like the FPS Russia intro and then you hear the Woody's Gamertag intro and they walk Wings to the ring. Like dude, in 2009.
What do you mean, dude? Why can't we do Fight Circus 2-on-3 PKA versus Wings of Redemption? Actually, fuck that. Why don't we get what's his name? The guy who did the zombie videos who beat him in a 1v1 back in the day.
Tom Syndicate versus Wings of Redemption.
You know something? I want Tom Syndicate versus Wings of Redemption. He's getting it back, baby. It's been like 15 years in the making.
We don't need no UAV this time. UAV off. You can't run. Dude, I think they fuck it, dude. We should fuck Misfits Boxing. They should make an entire league just for Call of Duty creators from 2009. Blame Truth versus Hutch. We got Syndicate.
White Boy 7th Street versus X-Jaws,
No, White Boy 7th Street versus the cops. I didn't forget about that,
Jesus.
Versus the cops that arrested him, fucking Officer Smith can catch these hands, that type of beat, but yeah. I think there's endless possibilities with Wings of Redemption. It just means it's so fucking funny. It's so funny. In a million years, I would have never guessed that you would ever.
By the way, these are the moments where you have to appreciate influencer boxing, right, Josh?
How can you not? I understand some people are like, what if they die? I mean, maybe this can age really poorly, but
hey man, it is what it is. They both agree to it. Hey, I'll be that guy, bro. I mean, if you're gonna go into this, you know the dangers of it. You're an adult.
That's true. But I was gonna say more, people are like, they could die, and they could. I mean, anything can go wrong in combat sports, but guys, Zulu Zinho was 500 pounds and fought a bunch of times. Emmanuel Yarborough fought in UFC 1, and he was 500. There are people who are bigger than Wings and Boogie, and they fought. There are guys that are 600, 700 pounds and they fight. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Some people are over dramatic about it, but I mean.
I don't think people have ever watched sumo ever in their life, dude, in Japan.
That's true.
Granted, those guys are doing one bout each day for two weeks, and they have 3-month breaks in between. But granted,
well, depending on how this goes, this could be Wings and Boogie's last fight ever. So,
well,
not by choice.
True. Fuck, dude. I can't believe these guys actually got medically cleared.
The thing to get medically cleared apparently is apparently you just have to be alive, from my understanding. I mean, I remember I have spine issues. I don't want to talk about it much on here, but I have a bad back, right?
As long as you don't have a fucking tumor or a fucking brain bleed, you're good to go.
Apparently you can box, dude.
Yeah, you're chilling.
But yeah, man, that's all I got. I mean, I think this is a hilarious situation. But yeah, man. Any closing thoughts on the show or anything in general before we go ahead and close out?
Man, I'm just excited to have a pay-per-view again, man. I know it's not maybe the biggest one of the year or the most stacked, but I still think it has a lot of great storylines going into it. Obviously, one of CAPE's put on a great event that I thought about attending this year. Didn't end up kind of working out with everything going on in life, but man, I would have loved to be there, man. But it is what it is. I'll be watching it at home and enjoying the hell out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And obviously, a bunch of combat going down this weekend. And as far as the show goes, hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully, you're listening to this. We've hit 1,000. We haven't done it as of recording, so I'm not really trying to talk about it much. But yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of success over the last couple of months, and we want to keep on going. We appreciate all the love and support that we get every single week. And hope you guys enjoy the show. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _01 at Courtside Sound for all things relating to the show on Twitter. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed on YouTube as well as TikTok. If you guys enjoyed the content, peace and butt grease. Mouse click.